symphony orchestra string section has 4 different instruments: violin, viola, cello, and the largest and deepest in sound is the bass. A typical symphony orchestra bass section has 8 players, and a person who plays the bass is called a bassist. And as many of you know, I used to be a professional bassist. And I brought with me today one of my oldest and dearest friends, Charlie, the double bass. Boy, these box elder bugs are freaking me out. And I am sanguine that my talk will go smoothly because I rely heavily on notes and I should know this material. So, Charlie has been traced back, or actually Charlie and I have been friends since 1968. Although Charlie is a much older man. He was created in 1890 in Tyrolia, Italy. And his ancestors have been traced back to the 15th century. And still today, they look remarkably similar to way back then. There's argument over whether he's a descendant of the violin family or the viola da gamba family. It's almost identical to the violin family, although a string bass has more sloping shoulders, kind of like the gamba family, which helps when you're playing in the higher registers to get your arm around there. So the jury is still out. A bass is constructed out of many kinds of wood. The top of a good bass is usually spruce, and the back and sides are maple. This is a flat-backed bass. Some of them have more of a rounded back, kind of like the front is. It also uses ebony, this is called the fingerboard, and the tail, and the nut up here is ebony. When you play on this for a long time, you get finger indentations even, and they have to plane it down. It's called dressing the fingerboard. Now and then. He wants to go home with me. Let's see. So the instrument is hollow. Helps produce the sound. And inside, I would say right about under here, is something called a sound post. It's a round dowel. It's not glued or attached in there. It's made to fit tightly. If I loosened all the strings, it would fall over, or it could fall over if you move the instrument too much. But that gives the instrument its characteristic sound qualities, and it's kind of an art to set those in place because you don't have to move it very far, and you get a warmer sound or a brighter sound, or a louder or a little bit softer, warmer sound. And so it has to do with what you like as personally, and then between the person who takes care of the instrument, called a luthier. If you get somebody that really knows what they're doing, they can make you sound especially good. The sound post is also, I read, and I didn't know this, I hadn't heard this, but the French call it âme, which means soul. They say it's the soul of the instrument. I thought that was kind of cool. So a full-size bass, actually basses come in quarter size, half size, 3/4 size, 7/8, and a full size. And a full-size bass is very unusual. I mean, not that many people play a full-size bass. You have to be really tall with big hands. Most people play a 3/4 to 7/8 size. And I can't even remember. I think this is probably a 3/4 size. I've had 3 different instruments in my life, and one of them I think was a 7/8. That was a little bit bigger, but for my size it was a little bit hard to play. It worked for orchestra music, but for solo music it was hard to get around. So most people play 3/4 to 7/8, and it's around 6 feet tall. There's an adjustable end pin on the bottom, so you can move it to the height you like. Usually, they say when you're in half position or first position that your fingers are kind of parallel to your eyes if you're standing up, although it's kind of subjective too. I always really looked at this point and kind of had it just above my eyesight, but it's kind of an intuitive feeling where you like it. If you sit on a high stool, that's about I can't think of the word I'm looking for. It's about this height. And you lean the instrument in kind of on the inside of your hip bone a little bit in this way, and the left foot's a little bit farther forward. You don't want to bend over this way, you're going to hurt your back, but you want to have balance. And then you press down with your left hand and you use the bow, and when you get up this high, you shift your thumb in front. That's called thumb position, and you mainly use these 3 fingers on the thumb. There are 2 kinds of bows. This is a French bow, and a German bow is a little wider in the frog here, and it's held underhand like this. The hair on a bow is made out of horsehair, and a lot of bass players like black horsehair because it's a little more coarse, and with the thick strings you get a little bit better sound. And my favorite was always called salt and pepper. It's a mixture of black and white hair. And the bows range in length from 24 to 30 inches, and it depends how they're balanced and the kind of music you're playing. You have to feel each individual bow. If you're playing Mozart, you want one that bounces really good so you can play lighter music. And then we use rosin. It's called rosin. It's like tree resin. You put on the bow hairs, and there are tiny barbs on the horsehair, so you only want to put it on in one direction, otherwise you kind of wreck those. The rosins are also different. Some are softer and some are harder, and it depends on the season you're playing in. You want softer in the winter and harder in the summer when it's more humid. And the thing I like most about playing the bass is when you're standing in the orchestra, you have all the different voices around you. It's like surround sound magnified, and it's like 3D sound. It's really fun. And the worst part about playing the bass is just getting around. My mom always said she wished that I would get a child who would play the bass, so I had to take him around, and my son played for a year. But so in conclusion, there are lots of good bass parts in orchestra. It's fun to sit in the middle of. And Charlie's been one of my nearest and dearest friends. And the more I give to our relationship, the better.